Welcome to OmniPodcast. We're thrilled to have you here in this space where we explore the future of industrial automation and smart manufacturing. Each episode, we dive into inspiring conversations with industry leaders, innovators, and experts who are transforming the sector with their cutting-edge ideas and solutions. Get ready to uncover valuable insights, emerging trends, and success stories that will help you take your operations to the next level. Let's begin this exciting journey toward intelligent transformation.
Hello everyone and welcome to this new episode of our podcast. Today's episode is titled ERP and MES in the Digital Age. I am Jose. I am the manager of the Digital Transformation Consulting team at Omnicon, and I'm gonna be your host for this new episode. I'm actually very excited to have you all with us. For today we have a very special guest joining us. His name is Eric. He's a digital transformation expert. And with him, we're gonna dive into some exciting topics that includes the challenges manufacturing companies face during digital transformation. We're also gonna be covering the evolution of ERP systems and how these systems integrate together with different technologies like IoT, MOM, MES, and even AI. So Eric, I've been following your work for years, and I have to say I don't think I've missed a single one of your videos. I'm actually a huge fan, and I just wanted to thank you for being here with us today. We're absolutely happy to have you here. So welcome to our podcast.
No, thank you, Jose. Thank you for having me, and thank you for those kind words. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. All right, so let's dive straight into it. So digital transformation has become essential in today's manufacturing landscape, but it doesn't come without challenges. So, Eric, from your experience, what are the biggest challenges manufacturing companies face when implementing digital transformation projects, when implementing digital transformation initiatives?
Yeah, well, I think the most complex or the most challenging issue that is also a positive thing is the fact that there's so many different options available technologically for manufacturers. The good news with manufacturing is that the whole enterprise resource planning or ERP division or segment of the market was created largely for manufacturers. So historically, manufacturers have had access to very cutting edge technologies that were built for them. And over time, the number of options that manufacturers have had has just only continued to increase, not only with ERP systems, but now you've got MES systems that can provide shop floor automation and data capture on the shop floor. You have Internet of Things devices and tools that can be used. Certainly artificial intelligence is creating new opportunities and new ways that manufacturers can manage their processes. And then you also have supply chain management solutions too, a whole segment or a subcategory of supply chain management solutions. So manufacturers have a lot of different options available to them, almost so many different options that can be hard and overwhelming to navigate all the different choices. And so I think the key is really for manufacturers to figure out how can they quickly narrow down the field to focus on the technologies that are the best fit for them, knowing that they have a lot of different options in the market. That creates a lot of price opportunities and cost savings opportunities because now there's so much competition. It brings the price down of a digital transformation for a manufacturer, but it can also be very costly if you overinvest in technologies that you don't need. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is just knowing that you have a lot of different options, but not all options are created equally, especially for you and your specific needs and your specific requirements as an organization.
Right. Yeah, that's actually really insightful, Eric. So now that you mentioned that specific challenge about like companies having like different options, different choices, how do you think manufacturing companies can maybe like overcome this specific challenge? Are there like any strategies or any approaches that you have seen that maybe like actually work well in the industry?
Yeah, I think the big thing is to make sure that you're focused on technologies that are, first of all, right-sized for your type of organization. So, for example, if you're a complex engineer-to-order manufacturer, that immediately helps you narrow down the field to technologies that are good at engineer-to-order manufacturing. Not every technology out there is good at that. Some technologies are built for more high-volume, commodity-based, make-to-stock sorts of options, and others are, there's a smaller subset that are built for engineer to order. So I think, the biggest thing is really, first of all, right sizing the options that you consider so that you're not over analyzing too many different options that are not good fits. But just as importantly, I think it's also important to recognize that you need to prioritize your business needs and requirements and what you want to get out of technology. And once you've prioritized your requirements and you've defined the things that are most important to your business and your manufacturing operations, that'll allow you to sort of eliminate a lot of the options that you shouldn't even bother considering because they're just not good fits. And so I think that's the second thing. And then the third thing I'd say that's maybe almost as equally important is to make sure that you are looking at your entire technology landscape and making sure that you, even if you're not implementing all new technology all right away, you're at least evaluating your options and understanding what the overall roadmap is so that you're not making decisions for new technologies in silos. You're doing it as part of a broader view of your overall technology landscape.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a great point there. So with the kind of the fast pace of technological advancement, especially with all these like trending topics like AI, IoT, and big data, I think ERP systems have to evolve in order to stay relevant, right? So from your perspective, how do you see ERP systems like evolving to support that integration, to support the integration of these, let's say, new technologies in a manufacturing framework?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it sort of amplifies the first question or the first answer I gave to your first question, which was you have all these different options as a manufacturer. You have ERP systems, which are really in some ways trying to be everything to everyone. ERP systems, generally speaking, are trying to build all these different competencies within one single platform. And inevitably what happens is in the quest to create functionality that satisfies every manufacturer out there, it creates gaps and openings for other specialized providers to come in and say, well, ERP providers can't be everything to everyone, so we're going to come in and provide something that's more focused and more targeted to this specific type of manufacturer. So, you mentioned, for example, IoT, and we talked a little bit about MES, manufacturing execution systems. Manufacturing execution systems are a good example. MES is something that ERP systems generally don't do very well, and a lot of these systems don't do it at all.
Right.
And so now manufacturers have to decide, well, do I go find an ERP system that has an okay MES, but it also does all these other things outside of MES, and so therefore I want one single solution? Or is MES so important to me that I want to go find the best MES system and then bolt it onto a back office ERP system? And so, I think the good news is that creates a healthy competition in the marketplace to where ERP systems are constantly trying to keep up with the MES providers and the AI providers and the IoT providers. They're trying to keep up by providing their own competencies in those areas, but inevitably they're never going to quite be able to do it all, which creates constant opportunities for these specialized providers to provide AI opportunities, for example. And that's why companies like NVIDIA on the AI side have been so successful, is because they specialize in one thing and they're doing it really well. And they're not trying to be an ERP company or a CRM or a MES provider. All they're doing is AI. And so, I think that's the way you have to look at it, is the technology space is changing faster and faster, creating a lot of opportunities. And in that quest for more opportunity and more competition comes more innovation, because these technology providers have to move faster and faster and be better to keep up with all these different subcategories of options that the companies have.
Right. That is actually like a huge impact of like not having this kind of let's say synergy between these solutions that we see in the market, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and that's actually a great point, Eric. And now that you mentioned before that integration, can you maybe like elaborate on how companies can ensure that they're extracting like maximum value from this data integration?
Yeah. So, I think first of all, you have your traditional integration tools, providing point-to-point integrations between different systems. But in addition to the sort of the old school traditional ways of integrating systems, you also have these newer models of like, for example, Snowflake and Palantir are two systems that they're not really middleware. They're sort of like middleware / workflow / business intelligence types of tools where they pull together data from multiple sources to provide you a more complete picture of what's happening within your manufacturing operations. And so that is one newer subcategory, I think, that's created a lot of opportunity and innovation and options for manufacturers. And then the other one is AI. You know, we see AI really being a way to potentially almost serve as an integration tool, because if you have AI that can go do some of the manual looking up of information in multiple systems for you, that can be a substitute for not necessarily having to create a physical integration between systems. Now, obviously, you have to build the AI models and engines that can access all this different information, and it has to work, but it is another option you have if you don't want to do the full, traditional old school type of integration between systems. So I think those are a few different ways that organizations and vendors are creating integration. And I think that's going to become even more important, because as technology changes faster and faster, it's going to be impossible for these vendors to constantly create an integrated solution that just ties everything together, because everything's changing so much that they won't be able to, the pressure for them to create an integrated solution, they just won't be able to do it fast enough, as fast as the individual pieces are changing.
Yeah, well, that integration sounds critical, So speaking of systems like working together, I've noticed that like ERP and MES integration has become like a hot topic nowadays, especially when it comes to improving operational efficiency. So for you, how does that integration of ERP and MES systems contribute to real-time decision making, specifically on the shop floor?
Well, that's a great question, because what I love about the integration between MES and ERP is that they're such distinctly different technologies. Even though some ERP systems are trying to be an MES system, or they're trying to provide an MES light capability, but the reality is they don't. ERP systems generally don't do MES very well. And MES providers, there's a lot of really good MES systems that capture all this real-time data on the shop floor, and all these different sensors and robotics and machines on the shop floor, and the machinery and everything. But then over here, you've got your ERP system, which focuses on financials, financial forecasting, even inventory planning, and in some cases, the crossover happens at MRP and planning your production schedule and things like that. So the collision, or the combination of those two things together, can be very powerful if you can do both really well, because now you've got real-time information on the shop floor that feeds into what our inventory strategy is, and when we need inventory raw materials, when we might need sub-assemblies, and certainly when we need the finished product by a certain point at a certain place or a certain customer. You can tie all that together more real time, rather than having to wait until you've got data that you've gotten from your MES, and then you go plug it into your ERP system and do some manual or separate analysis over here. Now, if you can create those two together, you can create a more real-time view into when and where we need inventory, and when and where and how we need to order inventory, where we need it to be, which warehouse we need the finished products to be in at what point. And the whole supply chain and the whole manufacturing process becomes a lot more streamlined that way. But historically, organizations have sort of struggled with, well, I've got my ERP project over here, my ERP system over here, I've got my MES over here, and now I've got to figure out how to manually make sense of these two very distinctly different things. And so I think that those two things coming together can be a really powerful combination for manufacturers.
Absolutely. Yeah, working in different silos isn't actually the right way to operate. Eric, I believe ERP and MES integration isn't just about technology, right? It goes beyond technology. It is also about the people. It is also having the right people in place, and having the right organizational, the right culture in place. So, how important for you is to have the right company culture in order to have a successful integration?
I think it's very important, because on a few fronts. I mean, one is you look at the digital maturity or the digital literacy of a manufacturer, their current digital maturity or digital sophistication. And not every manufacturer is going to be super sophisticated and at the top of their game. Most of them are a work in progress. They're trying to get more mature. They're trying to get more sophisticated with technology. But the organizations that are most successful in manufacturing are the ones that create this culture of learning and innovation and using new technologies in innovative ways. And so creating that culture really paves the way for organizations to be successful and manufacturers to be successful in the way they use new technologies. So it's really before you ever start to deploy new technology, you need to be creating an environment where people are encouraged, and they feel comfortable being innovative, and they feel comfortable constantly improving processes and constantly trying to find new ways to use technology to make the processes better. And that sort of creates a flywheel effect where now you become more and more effective at it, and as technology changes, you're changing faster, and as your competitors and other manufacturers are changing faster, you're able to keep up and maybe even leapfrog where they're at. So I think that culture piece is very important for sure.
And also building on that, I love to get your feedback, your thoughts, or your insights on the practical applications. What do you believe are like the let's say critical success factors for achieving an effective ERP and an MES integration?
Well, I think you mentioned one, which is culture. The other is having clear alignment and clarity of vision. So in other words, the entire organization understands what it is we're trying to accomplish as a manufacturing organization. Like we're not just manufacturing widgets, we're trying to satisfy a customer need. And so what is that customer need, and how is everything we do day to day, how is that supporting and fulfilling that customer need? And then ultimately, how can we use ERP and MES and other technologies to better enable satisfying that customer need? So, it all starts with culture, it starts with clarity of vision. And then I'd say the other thing is just being realistic about the fact that, that you have a business to run day to day. You have to keep the lights on, you have to keep the shop floor running, but in parallel, you're trying to change and improve. And so just being realistic that, you can't boil the ocean, you can't change everything overnight, but in parallel, you can be making incremental improvements continuously along the way.
Okay, that was actually my last question for today's episode, Eric. Well, you shared so many great insights today. I know our listeners definitely will take away a lot from this interview about all the topics that we cover, including digital transformation, ERP and MES integration, and other fascinating topics that we discussed. So thanks again, Eric, for joining us on the podcast. It's really been a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Jose. It's great being here.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone joining us today. See you next time.